call my wife. Look,
Stop.
you want to step?
Stop.
You want to step?
Guys.
You want to step? I will knock you out, kid.
Hey.
You don't want to do this.
It's not worth it.
You get that, right?
Stop.
You know this.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Dude, I will kill you.
On me to come forward with information that he had asked me to give this information.
Charlie Sheen has just found himself on the list of Hollywood stars accused of multiple sources stepped forward to confirm that the HIV-infected actor raped child star Corey Haim on the set of Lucas in 1986. Sheen, then 19, convinced Corey, then 13, to have during the production of the film.
It was beyond my control. Sure. That said, we are planning on making a film of that same story. The story is about what's going on in Hollywood and the fact that there is an epidemic that's been there since the 20s and 30s of taking advantage of children and taking advantage of parents who are unaware of what's going on with their children. And, you know, that plays out in all sorts of different ways, from feeding to kids to making them get drunk and doing things that are inappropriate.
In a shocking twist that's got everyone in Hollywood whispering, Corey Feldman has broken his silence and is pointing the finger directly at none other than Charlie Sheen, accusing him of playing a devastating role in the tragic death of his childhood friend, Corey Haim.
I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded.
This isn't just another celebrity feud. It's a bombshell revelation that's dredging up dark, long-buried secrets of Tinseltown's most notorious scandals. Is Sheen really the villain Feldman claims? Or is this another chapter in Hollywood's sordid history of cover-ups and betrayal?
Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
Get ready for the truth bombs. This one's going to shake the industry to its core. 15 minutes into the premiere of Corey Feldman's long-awaited documentary, My Truth, The R of Two Coreys, the 48-year-old former child actor suddenly came sprinting down the aisle of the theater where the screening was being held. Flanked by 4 security guards, Feldman asked for the house lights to be turned on and grabbed a microphone to address the crowd. There was a problem.
What happened was I spent $1.3 million making this film. We premiered it at the Directors Guild. There was 700 people there, sold out audience, standing room only.
The documentary was supposed to be streamed worldwide at the same time as its Hollywood premiere, but Feldman had gotten word that the film's website, mytruthdoc.com, was down. He was worried about leaks and didn't want to keep the screening going if people at home couldn't watch along in real time. You're seeing it for yourself. People don't want this to happen, Feldman declared, hinting that something sinister was going on. In the chaos that followed, shouts erupted from the crowd about an attack on the website. Someone near the front even suggested that it was being hacked in real time, though it wasn't clear whether the site was actually hacked or just dealing with technical issues. After some tense back and forth with his team and a little help from a famous friend in the audience, Feldman decided to go ahead and continue the screening. Some vicious people have tried to turn the tables on me, Feldman said, apologizing for the interruption. But Rosanna Arquette said we should continue the film, so let's do it. Let's finish what we started. After teasing the film for nearly 3 years, My Truth finally made its debut, chronicling Feldman's long journey to shed light on the A he claims child actors endure at the hands of the entertainment industry. Feldman also explained at the premiere that the film was his way of honoring a promise he made to his former co-star and late best friend, Corey Haim, to tell his story.
That's why I say media blackout, because all the mainstream media has prevented me from coming forth and talking about this story.
The documentary starts where Haim's story tragically ended, with an audio recording of the 911 call his mother made after finding him unresponsive in their Los Angeles home in 2010. The release of My Truth coincides with the 10th anniversary of Haim's death. The 38-year-old actor was pronounced dead a few hours later, with the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office ruling his death as pneumonia, debunking earlier reports that he might have overdosed.
In watching everything that's happened today and the reports that have come out, the first thing I need to say is people need to stop.
From there, the film delves into the friendship between the two Coreys, as they were famously known, shifting between their rise as successful child actors and the strained relationship that developed when Haim suggested Feldman knew about the A he had suffered as a child, but did nothing to stop it. This tension was captured in an episode of The Two Coreys, a reality show that aired for 2 seasons on A&E before Haim's passing. For Feldman, that means revealing the names of the men who, he alleges, the two best friends turned surrogate brothers, as they navigated dominated the intense spotlight of Hollywood in the late 80s and early 90s.
Nobody knows, and nobody's going to know. We all are aware of the fact that Corey Haim has had a long and detailed history.
Feldman has long spoken about the he claims both he and Haim endured as child actors. In an interview with Rolling Stone last year, Feldman accused two industry men of him when he was 14 and hinted that a famous actor had Haim, though he stopped short of naming anyone.
Trying to make him, stand up or say a complete sentence. I've been there with him through it many, many times, and it's happened very badly and very intensely.
In the new documentary, however, Feldman finally breaks his silence. In a scene that drew gasps from the audience at the premiere, Feldman names Charlie Sheen as Haim's alleged rapist, providing a detailed account that includes disturbing references to Crisco being used as lube and two trailers that Feldman claims concealed the S-Act from public view. According to Feldman, the alleged assault occurred on the set of Lucas, a coming-of-age film where Sheen's character, Cappy, played a protector of sorts for Haim's character. The film, which also featured Winona Ryder and Courtney Thorne-Smith, was released in 1986. Haim was just 13 at the time of the alleged incident. It's unclear whether the potential legal ramifications that had previously kept Feldman from speaking out have been resolved, or if he simply decided to speak up despite the risks. After the initial reveal, Feldman doesn't mention Sheen's name again, and Sheen isn't interviewed or given a chance to make a statement in the film. However, when the National Enquirer first published the allegations in 2017, Sheen categorically denied them. Just hours after the premiere, Sheen publicly responded, "These sick, twisted, and outlandish allegations never occurred. Period," his spokesperson told The Wrap. "I would urge everyone to consider the source and read what his mother Judy Haim has to say." The allegations against Sheen are supported in the documentary by Feldman's ex-wife Susie Sprague, who appeared on The Two Coreys, and Jameson Newlander, an actor who grew close to Feldman and Haim after co-starring with them in the 1987 film The Lost Boys. Both claim that Haim had confided in them about the alleged suggesting that it was common knowledge in Hollywood circles, but ultimately ignored.
It's a big part of our lives. And then we did the sequels too, so it feels like Lost Boys is just always there.
Feldman had previously identified 3 other alleged from his youth. He called out his former manager, Marty Weiss, for inappropriate behavior, and Alfie Hoffman, the proprietor of Alfie's Soda Pop Club, a sort of Soho house for kids that was popular in the late 1980s. Feldman also accused his former assistant, John Grissom, of smearing him during an appearance on the Dr. Oz show in 2017. Grissom, who had a brief acting career, appeared in the 1988 film License to Drive and 1989's Dream a Little Dream alongside Feldman and Haim. All 3 men are mentioned again in the film, along with Dominic Brascia, a bit actor who befriended Haim and Feldman in the 80s. Neither Grissom nor Hoffman have commented on the allegations, and they weren't interviewed for My Truth. Weiss, meanwhile, has been actively defending himself on Twitter, accusing Feldman of changing his story, while also revealing that he was a victim of child CSA himself. Brascia doesn't appear in the film either, though a clip from a Dr. Oz interview is shown where Judy Haim identifies Brascia, not Sheen, as her son's rapist. In the documentary, Feldman claims that Judy Haim has been part of a deliberate effort to bury the truth about Sheen's involvement and to undermine Feldman's attempts to expose other In one particularly intense scene, Feldman accuses Judy Haim of failing to protect her son. "It's your responsibility, Judy Haim, and not anyone else's," Feldman shouts, his body visibly tense. "So stop putting the blame on me." Judy Haim does not appear in My Truth, and it's unclear if she was asked to comment. She and Feldman have publicly clashed for years, with Judy repeatedly urging Feldman to stop spreading what she calls lies, and accusing him of fabricating the story to further his own career. Feldman's belief that Judy Haim is out to tarnish his reputation, and possibly even threaten his life, is one of the more perplexing aspects of the film. Alongside the film's director, Brian Hertzlinger, who also appears in the documentary, Feldman delves into the antagonism between his fans, whom he affectionately calls his Feld Fam, and a group of detractors known as the Wolf Pack. Feldman labels Judy Haim as the queen of the Wolf Pack, accusing her of actively fueling efforts to silence him through intimidation tactics tactics, and an online propaganda campaign. It's a theory Feldman has shared before, but the film goes further, suggesting that the Wolfpack's attempts to steamroll Feldman are actually harming victims of child SA and discouraging other victims from coming forward. My Truth casts Feldman as a whistleblower, drawing parallels between his activism and the efforts that exposed figures like Jerry Sandusky, Larry Nassar, and Jeffrey Epstein. Although Harvey Weinstein's name isn't mentioned directly, director Brian Hertzlinger frames the film within the context of the #MeToo movement, implying that recent events have made it possible to bring Feldman's allegations into the spotlight. The hashtag they're using to promote this narrative is #Kids2.
The truth out. Everybody but kept saying, you got to get the truth out. You got to get the truth out. Fine.
In an interview toward the end of the documentary, Feldman calls out the studio system for not providing a safe environment for minors. They're liable for what happened to Haim, he says. Still, he insists, I'm not outing a bunch of executives. It's not the executives that are the problem, placing the blame instead on the little guys, like publicists, managers, parents, and other people who are with child actors on a daily basis. It's time for them to stop looking the other way. It's unclear as to what impact My Truth will have on Hollywood and its handling of child actors. In one scene, Feldman tells the camera that he has just met with SAG-AFTRA president Gabrielle Carteris and asked her to revoke Sheen's actor card. Her response, Feldman paraphrases, is that more people need to come forward with allegations so it can be proven in court. The interaction convinces Feldman to work with lawmakers on legislation to extend the statute of limitations for victims of childhood SA. A montage in the film later credits Feldman's lobbying for helping to move many of these bills forward. His home state of California signed a new law last fall that would give victims of childhood SA until age 40, or 5 years from discovery of the A, to file civil lawsuits. Introducing the film, Feldman emphasized that his goal was not to make it about himself, but to use his platform to speak for the voiceless, including Haim. The most important topics are the ones you hear about the least, he said. When you don't hear about it, that's when you should worry. Some will question whether it's appropriate for Feldman to tell Haim's story of alleged R, especially given the strong opposition from a grieving mother and the fact that Haim himself never commented on the allegations. While Feldman maintains that his friend wanted these issues to be exposed, it's difficult to ascertain the full truth when one of the involved parties is no longer alive. Nonetheless, after years of pledging to reveal the truth, Feldman seems to be relishing the film's release. I didn't want to do this film, Feldman told the crowd at the glamorous premiere. But this is the shindig of a lifetime. This has literally been a lifetime in the making. But there is more to the story. Corey Feldman and Corey Haim shared the same first name, were lifelong friends, and co-starred together in a number of hit films, including The Lost Boys. But the Coreys shared more than just credits. They also bonded over a shared history with the dark side of Hollywood, and allegedly as victims of its supposed ring of pedophiles.
But the person that knows who did it and knows who he is watching right now, I guarantee you.
As teens, both Coreys turned to D, but Corey Haim's addictions were particularly prominent in his life. When he was just 18 years old, he went to rehab to tackle a crack addiction, but he struggled to remain sober. As he got older and his work tapered off, Haim fell back into his addictions and overdosed multiple times. By the mid-2000s, he was living in an apartment near Burbank with his mother, and it was here that Haim would ultimately die in 2010. Corey Haim's death was ultimately ruled to be the result of natural causes, but his long history with D-addiction certainly cast a dark and ominous shadow over the situation.
However, most recently, he's been honestly in the best frame of mind that he's ever been in the past year.
Corey Ian Haim was born on Deck 23, 1971 in Toronto, Canada, to Judy and Bernie Haim. When his parents divorced in 1982, Haim went to live with his mother in Willowdale. He was a fairly shy child, and so to help him overcome the shyness, his mother enrolled him in drama, improvisation, and mime classes. The classes evidently paid off, as while Haim's sister Carol was auditioning for various roles, producers took notice of 10-year-old Corey and offered him a part in the educational comedy series, The Edison Twins. As the New Zealand Herald reported, the show only filmed for 2 years between 1984 and 1985, but it kick-started Corey Haim's career and put the young star on the map. Shortly after, he was cast in the thriller Firstborn alongside Peter Weller. The 13-year-old Haim played the role of a boy stuck living in a home with his mother's violent boyfriend, played by Weller, who happened to be a method actor. On their first day of shooting, Haim complimented Weller on his performance, and in response, Weller screamed at him and threw him against a wall. It took 3 assistants to separate them. Weller would later apologize to Haim, attributing the blow-up to his method acting, but the incident terrified Haim and left a mark. The young actor persevered and continued to land roles in a number of notable films, including Secret Admirer, Murphy's Romance, and Stephen King's Silver Bullet. His breakout role, however, came with 1986's Lucas, in which he played the titular role and co-starred with Cary Green, Charlie Sheen, and Winona Ryder. In the film, the 14-year-old Lucas falls in love with an older cheerleader played by Cary Green, and that crush carried over to real life as well. Corey Haim had reportedly fallen for Green, but she turned him down. He later said that real-life heartbreak inspired his performance. It worked out well for him, as film critic Roger Ebert would write of his performance. He creates one of the most three-dimensional, complicated, interesting characters of any age in any recent movie. If he can continue to act this well, he will never become a half-forgotten child star, but will continue to grow into an important actor. He is that good. Unfortunately, it was during the filming of Lucas that Haim started drinking regularly, and even on set. Then, in 1987, Haim landed his next major role in The Lost Boys alongside his soon-to-be best friend Corey Feldman. This was also when Corey Haim tried marijuana for the first time, and as his success grew, so too did his dependence on D. "I lived in LA in the 1980s, which was not the best place to be," Haim later said of his substance use. "I did for about a year and a half, then it led to crack." This came to a head in 1988 while Haim was filming License to Drive with Heather Graham and Corey Feldman, during which time Haim said he had completely lost control of his D addictions. A year later, at the age of 18, he entered rehab saying he'd gotten out of whack. At one of his lowest points, Haim had even been asking high schoolers where he could buy crack.
I know it better than anybody because I've been the guy stuffing charcoal down his throat when he was ODing.
Feldman was also notorious for his D use, described as having smoked bales of weed and having coke-off challenges with friends, competing to see who could do the most lines of cocaine and stay up the longest. It was Feldman who would go on to write about his own experience growing up as a young actor in 1980s Hollywood, and particularly about the SA both he and Corey Haim allegedly suffered as a result.
Better. You let me get around in my life, man, so to speak.
In Corey Feldman's autobiography Choreography, Feldman claimed that he had been M for years by older men working in the entertainment industry. He also wrote that Corey Haim approached him with similar stories early on in their friendship, and that this mutual trauma formed a strong bond between them. Feldman later spoke to People magazine about the A, but stated that he would not name names so as to protect Haim's mother from any more pain. "There are people that did this to me and Corey that are still working, they're still out there, and they're some of the most rich and powerful people in this business, and they do not want what I'm saying right now. They want me dead," Feldman said. Feldman later released a documentary film titled My Truth, The R of Two Coreys, in which he further detailed the A he and Haim allegedly faced. Among the startling revelations in the documentary was an allegation that Haim had once told Feldman that he was R by Charlie Sheen on the set of Lucas. Sheen would have been 19 at the time, and Haim just 13. Sheen's publicist denied the allegation.
I was about 14 and a half, and I'm saying this right now by the guy you still f***ing hang out with, and tell me I'm 14.
Haim's mother alleged in a 2017 appearance on the Dr. Oz show, however, that it was not Sheen who had R her son, but rather actor Dominic Braccia. Feldman had also accused Braccia of abusing Corey Haim in the documentary. Braccia denied the allegations. In the years leading up to Corey Haim's death, he seemed to hint at some of the allegations Corey Feldman would later bring to light. Haim addressed the R incident directly in 2007 when he and Feldman starred in the A&E reality series The Two Coreys, saying that his rapist had been one of Feldman's acquaintances. "I have come to terms with this a long time ago, but obviously not totally," he later said. "Stuff happens when you are a kid, it scars you inside for life." As young teens, the two Coreys naturally lived lavish lives and attended countless parties. But in particular, they were known for hosting a weekly underage party night called Alfie's Soda Pop Club, basically a hangout spot where Hollywood youth could party without supervision. Feldman later claimed that a number of high-level Hollywood pedophiles would visit the Soda Pop Club and R and intimidate the teenage actors. Haim never addressed this alleged essay, though he did speak about how the Soda Pop Club contributed to his addiction. By the end, it was dying out and everyone was on D, he said. I was on D, Feldman was on D. At the end of it, we were 16 or 17 years old. Unfortunately, Corey Haim never truly recovered from his addictions, and this sent him spiraling into a hole of debt, isolation, and desperation. By the early 2000s, work had pretty much dried up for Corey Haim, and he had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. During this time, which he later called an 8-year hiatus, the actor said he effectively hid away and had an addiction to pretty much everything. Twice in 2001, Haim was hospitalized for D issues. The second time, his mother found him unconscious in his home in Los Angeles. But Haim had no money to pay his hospital bills, and out of desperation, he tried to sell his teeth and hair on eBay. This attempt was blocked by eBay, however, as the site does not allow for the sale of human body parts. Just 3 years later, Haim had moved into an apartment with his mother, but continued to spiral due to his D addiction. In 2007, Haim once again checked himself into rehab, but upon leaving, just 2 years before Corey Haim died, he referred to himself as a chronic relapser. On March 10, 2010, Corey Haim was found dead in the apartment he was still sharing with his mother. CNN reported in May of that year that Corey Haim's death had been attributed to pneumonia. However, not detoxicology tests revealed no significant contributing factors from D, according to the coroner's report, despite investigators initially believing an overdose to be the cause.
You need to stop saying, their theories of what they think it is or isn't, because at the end of the day, until the coroner's report comes out, until we have specific evidence, until we know exactly what the toxicology reports say, nobody knows.
Rather, the autopsy found an extremely large amount of swelling in Haim's lungs, and further toxicology tests revealed that his blood did have low levels of several D, including a cough suppressant, antihistamine, ibuprofen, Prozac, olanzapine, Valium, carisoprodol, meprobamate, and THC. The autopsy determined, however, that the medications were present in low levels and were non-contributory to death. Corey Haim was just 38 years old when he died, but who is responsible for his death? Seemingly Charlie Sheen. And it was confirmed by other friends as well. Many friends who knew Corey Haim backed Feldman's claims in the documentary. Fellow friends who told Haim's truth included Jamison Newlander, Gary Hayes, Henry Penzie, Scott Carlson, and Susanna Sprague. Scott Carlson, who was the manager of both Coreys, stated, "Haim told me specifically about what had happened to him on the set of Lucas. He told me who had done it, who a him. I found it hard to believe. If Feldman had not told me that that's what he'd been told for years, I probably would not have believed it. But to hear the same story over and over and over again, I kind of go, really? Well, I'm not comfortable at all saying it, and I don't care if 100 people have said it or 1,000 people said it. But what Corey Haim told me when I was sitting with Feldman in the office in the house in Vancouver, that he had been M on the set of Lucas, and it was Charlie Sheen. Even one person wrote, this is a very lucid, caring interview from Feldman. I do not understand why Feldman ripped Haim in his book. This is the Corey Feldman that I think was still his old self. Another one added, so true, Hollywood didn't miss Corey Haim until he died. So sad. So there you have it. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.